Hello, welcome to Alaska Center for the Book, Alaska Book Week 2021. Today we'll be hearing from editors MaryLee Hayes and Angie Slingluff. This presentation is sponsored by Ember Press. For more information about this and other Ember Press books, please visit our website at www.emberpressbooks.com. Alaska Women Speak is a small, homegrown journal that began at the kitchen tables of women who wanted a voice to both explore and expand their understanding of the world. Now, nearly 30 years later, early editors of the journal have compiled an anthology that reflects the diversity of women on the last frontier. This remarkable collection features voices as varied as the women who call this place home. MaryLee Hayes and Angie Slingluff worked for decades as editors for the Alaska Women Speak, a journal that gave voice to women across Alaska. The anthology is a compilation of some of the journal's best work and a lasting legacy to the many women who contributed over the years. The following is a pre-recorded Zoom session with Angie in New Mexico and MaryLee in Alaska.
The co-editors of our book, Alaska Women Speak, and Angie Slingluff and myself took about 4 years to get this book together, and we're very, very happy with how it turned out. On the left-hand side of your screen is the logo that was done early on, around 1992, and it was finished by Kat Arnold. And as you can see, the logo sort of encompasses that Alaska Women Speak. And the cover on the right is very beautiful. We're very proud of that. We thank Maria Tallis for putting our slideshow together for us.
This is the front and back cover of our book. The front cover is a beautifully produced piece of artwork by Teresa Asconi. And on the back cover are comments we received from author and activist Gloria Steinem, former Lieutenant Governor Fran Ulmer, Alaskan storyteller and Juneau radio host Rhonda McBride, and Alaskan poet and scholar Vivian Faith Prescott. I want to share what Gloria wrote. The anti-woman right wing has its own media. Mass media have their own stereotypes, and women end up feeling crazy and alone when we are neither. That is why we need feminist media like Alaska Women Speak. It's a portable friend that brings insight and information into your home and helps find friends outside it. It's truly a voice for women in the great land. In doing the book, we had many times of fun and celebration. Following 4 years of diligence and very hard work, we're proud to celebrate our new book. Here, MaryLee and I are at the writer's block holding the copy of our book, and also with Ember Press publishers Kayleen Johnson-Sullivan and Annette Stevenson. We had a goal of putting together a book. To accomplish the dream, we needed to be willing to take steps to reach that goal. More money might be called upon, but to accomplish a purpose we believe in can call for great sacrifice. It's important to go forward while the dream is alive.
We're very happy with our book, and it includes 98 journals. That was 25 years of quarterly publishing. Only 2 times was the journal not published on time and ended up just being 3 times for that year. What's important is to follow your intuition. Being inspired to do something and motivation is everything. And for over a 4-year period of putting a book together, that's a long time to sustain that sort of feeling inside that this is worthwhile, this is good, we need to keep going on that. I took to heart the words from the philosopher Goethe. Perhaps you've heard this quote: "Whatever you think you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius power and magic in it. The Alaska Women Speak journals began with the founding godmothers at a table, cutting and pasting different pictures and articles. They were at the first Feminist Women's Conference to happen in Anchorage, Alaska. And they wanted a statewide journal for women that would help them be able to connect in our very big state. The founding godmothers from the left is Dorothy Jones, Susan Johnson, and Karen Carlisle. And some basic principles were arrived at that very first workshop. And those appeared in a mission statement through many years of the journal, ideals that we wanted to continue to hold. And because I was at that first workshop, in fact, I believe there was just one or two of us that were at that original one. We helped formulate these ideals. And I'll read to you just a very small part of it. It said, Alaska Women Speak is a journal devoted to the exchange of ideas, literature, art, and heart talk, as well as a statewide update of women's political and social issues and activities. We desire that all content in the artwork and written material will reflect a commitment toward equality, freedom of choices, and personal empowerment. Alaska Women Speak will not publish anything that denigrates any animals, people, or the environment. And with those guidelines, we went forward.
We've been blessed to have many talented managing editors through the years. AWS managing editors began with our first editor, Kathy Murphy-Childs, in 1992. Kathy now lives in Washington State. MaryLee Hayes was at that first conference in 1992 and took over as managing editor in 1994. MaryLee lives in Eagle River and continues to engage as an advisor to Alaska Women Speak. She was followed by Carol Mercer from 2002 to 2006, and Carol currently resides in Washington State as well. Currently a New Yorker, Roberta Degenhart was managing editor from 2006 to 2009. Poet and author Kirsten Christensen of Sitka took on the role in 2010 until 2017, when she was succeeded by Carmen Davis of Anchorage from 2017 to 2019. I served as layout editor for 19 years, from 1997 to 2014. Now the torch is being carried by Pamela Simmons, the current AWS board president. Our book's cover, Birchwood Contours, was created by renowned Alaskan artist Teresa Asconi. Teresa has gifted us with many colorful covers over the years, and each is unique. For more than 40 years, Teresa Asconi has portrayed her impressions of Alaska in a distinctive, romanticized style that captures the rugged beauty of the Alaskan landscape and the delicate beauty of our wildflowers. Several of her artworks are included in the color section of the book.
We're going to go through about 5 points briefly with you. The first one there, sometimes famous persons were interviewed by Alaska Women Speak, but mostly just common persons like all of us were interviewed and shared their stories with the journal. The journals were multicultural, and Angie will go over a couple examples of that aspect that were in the journals. Many Alaska Native voices were heard with their articles and poems, and sometimes other cultures were talked of through women's travels. The journals encompassed many diverse themes, and Angie and I will be going through just a few of those, such as challenged Alaskans, the act of writing, extra baggage, women and their horses. Each issue gave contributors a focus from the theme. Our book features a color art section, and this is spectacular. We're very happy with the color art section that is in the book. We always wanted to promote women to express themselves in words and art and photography. So we did not want to leave out examples of some of the beautiful art that has been on the covers of Alaska Women Speak. Our book features a 16-page color section to honor some of the artists who contributed their art for our color covers. So we'll go through these with you. And our book provides an historical perspective. Some of the early articles speak of women's struggle for equal rights that were fought for. And some of our photos that are featured in the book show forth special events that have happened in the past and thus given historical perspective to the book. It was my privilege to interview Judy Collins, famed folk singer for many years, performed at the Center for the Performing Arts in Anchorage, August of 1994. Earlier, she had given me an enthusiastic interview for Alaska Women Speak, explaining what she has done to maintain a natural state of health. Now, I was quite nervous having an interview with a real famous person. It's one thing to talk about it and plan it, and another thing to come face to face with them. I didn't want to make any mistakes and wanted to talk carefully and understand her answers clearly. It was a good practice for me that I was able to do that.
Throughout the book and in the journals, we have featured many prominent Alaska Native women: Elizabeth Peretrovich, Rita Pitka Blumenstein, Leela Kiana Oman. Leela Kiana Oman was featured as part of our multicultural focus. Given the diversity of Alaska, it was important to us to acknowledge and include many gifted people. Sadly, Leela passed away in 2018. She was a woman of the Arctic. She lived in Nome, Alaska, but was born in Norfolk, Alaska on the Kobuk River in 1915. One of the missions of her life was to translate many Eskimo legends into English so that more people could appreciate them.
One of the different themes that we covered was one of challenged Alaskans. And this was featuring the Alaska's Wheelchair Marathon. AWS urges the community to support Challenge Alaska so that wonderful activities like the Wheelchair Marathon can continue to happen in our state. And I would like to share a comment from the journal that featured challenged Alaskans. It comes from Semya and her friend Morgan. What impressed me the most about these women is that they feel so intently. They not only relate with another's pain and emotional experience, they then take that personal connection and use it to broaden their own growth and understanding. This is how the seeds of compassion are sown, where empathy enables us to be more considerate of another's plight. Compassion gives us the ability to love, accept, and know another as we know ourselves. It is from within this knowing that hope, courage, and triumph stem.
We would pick a theme and then be totally surprised by the different views of the same theme that were submitted by our contributors. A good example was unclaimed luggage, the theme for spring 2003. For some writers, it was literally luggage, and for others, it was emotional baggage that weighed them down. This is more of the theme of challenged Alaskans. The next two slides talk about some of the challenges faced by courageous Alaska women. Kathy Murphy-Childs wrote an article about Sabine Becker, who was born without arms, but did not let that stop her. Special feat. Her advice to women wishing to pursue a new career, well, looking at my life, I wish I would not have wasted the years of other study, Sabine wrote. I would have just gotten the degree in art. I think personally, my choice was a good one. I too have had challenges as noted in my article. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that? Say again? Huh? To which some people respond, oh, never mind, it's not important. It's nothing. Forget it. Ask a child to repeat what they said, and they think they've said or done something wrong. And you've experienced our responses, head nodding, yes, or uh-huh, to everything, or sometimes a no thrown in for good luck, the interested look. And the ultimate, that slight grin. Gail Hammond, a deaf Canadian performance artist, says, everyone wants to know what Mona Lisa is smiling about. We know she couldn't hear a thing. The symbol at the bottom of the article, an ear with a line through it, is the universal symbol for the hard of hearing and deaf, and usually indicates that there are resources for folks with hearing loss. To write a book together, we needed to be flexible with time it involved. We might intend to complete some pages, but life happens, and one needs to be okay with delays. One example is I had eye surgery and had to lay face down for 7 days. Physical restraints such as this and putting a book together both require a lot of patience.
The journal sometimes featured pictures that were very, very unique and give a historical perspective. As you can see, here is a picture of Susan Butcher and Dee Dee Jeanreau, and they are listening as speakers pay tribute to the father of the Iditarod, Joe Reddington Sr., at his memorial service, 1999. That picture is by Linda Eimel, who contributed many pictures to the journals throughout the years. Adapting changes as we went along with the book was an important attribute that we needed to develop. For instance, when we first started writing and putting the book together, compiling the poems, articles, and pictures and so forth from others, we wondered whether we would have articles perhaps just written by those who are living. Pretty soon we couldn't imagine why we would do that. It was so important to us that women who had died were also keeping their voices alive by being part of this anthology book. And that became a big part of our goal. And it's always important to clarify one's goal. We wanted to honor women's lives in the book so that their words and art and pictures would live on. The journals, like a magazine, sometimes can be thrown away, collected and thought, oh, this is too much. But a book has a more enduring aspect to it. And we say they're more often saved and preserved. And that's what we wanted to do, is have the honoring of Alaska's women to be saved and preserved.
We appreciate Marilyn Bloomer, not only as a contributor, but as also as a strong AWS supporter. When our book came out, Marilyn took a trip up to Fairbanks to deliver copies of our book to the University of Alaska Fairbanks archives and to her former English professor. For the theme of writing, Marilyn Bloomer said, there's a difference between wanting to write a book and writing a book. We writers have all heard that the most important thing we can do as writers is to write. That's right, write. We can attend workshops and writing conferences until the cows come home. But what is important is that we sit down at the keyboard at fingertips or with paper and pen in hand, place our butts in a chair and write. Be willing to make big changes. We went from a small book that we thought would maybe be 100 pages to a large, and then even a larger book. And then we needed to be able to remove some pages at the end in order to keep the cost down. But one must be willing to not give up, despite discouragement and growing tired. It takes perseverance and determination to produce a good book. Another example of the theme of writing is this poem on writers by Victoria Steek. I'd like to share Victoria's enthusiastic letter to the editors. It shows just how much she appreciated being published. Thank you for the opportunity to share my work. Your topic, writing about writing, is a perfect match for this poem. It came about just as I describe it. The ideas and even the words were there in my mind, growing, aging, waiting for me to decide that they were ready to be blended together. I had committed to read an open mic at Kenai Peninsula College, but I hadn't had time to create something new for the occasion. I resigned myself to reading a piece that I'd already read before. I arrived early, and while waiting, feeling miserable at my lack of inspiration, when only 15 minutes before the show was to begin, I picked up my pen and the words came pouring out. I was intoxicated, exhilarated, no, amazed. The crowd loved it. I hope your readers will too. Victoria Steek, Kenai, Alaska.
In the AWS journals, expressions of the heart were often featured in a column that we called Heart Talk. And this poem, Where There Is Life, by Patricia Oaten, is one example. Oh, let me live in the fur northern lands that are covered in snow, where the cold commands, where there is life. Let me live out in the woods, each day a struggle for survival. Let me live where every day's a challenge, out where nature has no rival, where there is life. Build me a log cabin up on a hill in the summer under midnight sun. Make it small and cozy warm in the north where the salmon run, where there is life. Angie and I chose, and there is more to this poem in the book. We chose two pictures to go on that page. And one of them is from Kirsten Christensen, who is now the poet that one would submit their poems to with Alaska Women Speak, and was a former managing editor. This is her beloved Sterling, Alaska cabin. And that was real appropriate because of the poem. And also later in the poem, she talks about moose calves. And so we included this photo from Diane O'Connell. It was fun to take pictures and the written word and put them together on the pages of our book.
We cover many multicultural themes and travel to other lands in the journals where we experienced other cultures. Linda and I were blessed to take a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Africa. And this slide shows some of the spectacular travel photos and the fascinating animals we saw there. Linda took lots of photos, more than we were able to include in our article. The hippos pictured there really gave off a stink, and they can be very dangerous. But come on in, the water's fine. We saw many lions. This regal lion seemed full of himself. Aren't I handsome? But the ladies could wear the guys out, demanding their service, and we actually witnessed that.
We're very proud of the color art section that we have in the book. This picture is from the original first Alaska Women Speak cover, which was at the Feminist Women's Conference. It was a drawing by Teresa Tice, and that one was pen and ink again from 1992. A color version was added by Maggie Thixton, an Alaska Women Speak volunteer, and that was in spring of 2002 that she colored it.
Carol Holt and Teresa Asconi are two of my favorite artists. In particular, I absolutely love Teresa Asconi's Poppy Potty. It's a colorful outhouse, and I've used many an outhouse. It is one of the series of outhouse paintings called Potty Posies Teresa has created, and you can see others on her website at teresaasconi.com. Here's a collage of photos by my friend Dee Gould. She's a personal friend and a wonderful photographer who captured and contributed many unique Alaskan scenes as shown in this slide. The upper left image, views from the Alcan, is one I remember well from several journeys along this famous land access road, the Alaska-Canada Highway, the Alcan. It was constructed during World War II and it connects the contiguous United States across Canada. Begins at the junction of several highways in Dawson Creek and runs to Delta Junction, Alaska, 1,390 miles long.
These are two beautiful covers that were on our journal at different times. On the left, that was our very first Alaska Women Speak color cover done by Gail Nieberge. That was in the winter of 1998. And having a color cover for the first time was just really joyous for us. Another beautiful color cover was September Sunset, artist Betty Atkinson, and that was with those beautiful fall colors from 2001. Another painting by Betty Atkinson was an original watercolor from 2004. I just love that. She pulls you right back to that scene with her colors all blending in together. That's one of my favorites. Another beautiful autumn cover was Hurricane Gulch from the artist Neville Abbott Jacobs.
Christine Fortner and Ursula Paniak have captured the heart of Alaska in its winters. I love how Christine captures the reflection of the not yet frozen water in her first image, First Snow, number 3. Ursula Paniak's Tea Time Doll in the Snow is also representative of a famous Alaska pastime, stopping for tea, as well as being a wonderful example of Alaska Native art. Canadian artist Natalie Parenteau created this striking image of Encounter with a Raven, which captures the ubiquitous raven so prevalent in many Alaskan stories and folk art. Often known as the trickster, the raven is a year-round resident of Alaska and can have a wingspan of 46 to 56 inches.
These three pictures are quite spectacular. On the left is Caribou Sunrise by Lisa Rogers, one of my favorites from winter of 2006. It just looked so wonderful for Christmas time. On the right is Sunset at Lake Hood by photographer, one of our managing editors, Roberta Degenhart. Very glorious color cover. And at the bottom, University Lake, Anchorage, Alaska, was a photo by our managing editor, Carol Mercer. And that was from fall of 2003, a very peaceful, lovely cover. This next slide shows an article and artwork from Maria Tallis. I wrote this article, Gifted Artist, Maria Tallis. She does spectacular work, and a rare art form is articulated horse sculptures. On the right at the bottom, you can see me holding one of her articulated horses. Another example, the one blue horse standing on his head over there. Just really remarkable horse work. I wrote some descriptive prose for Maria's work, and I'd like to share the one that is under Trail's End. The end of one path can often conclude at the arrival of another, and an alternate journey is presented beyond what was anticipated. In this composition, a dusty trail ride intersects with the opulent shoreline of Anchorage, Alaska, where nature's beauty and a new direction quenches the thirst of the drifting trailblazer.
Daisy Lee Bitter, Laurie Jenkins, Deborah Poore, Vivian Faith Prescott are represented here. Daisy Lee's picture of the raspberry peony is an example of how Alaskans love art but take pride in their gardens and grow beautiful flowers. Fireweed by Vivian Faith Prescott reminds us that Alaskans make delicious honey from fireweed nectar and enjoy it with tea and toast, perhaps as shown in the enamel teapot with Tangelo by Deborah Poore.
Our last slide for the color art section showing Blue Ice, a beautiful cover. This one, the photo was taken by Joel Webb and is contributed by Elizabeth Quadra, and is a picture of Dion Quadra and a Siberian Husky, Mingma, as they explore an ice cave at the Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau, Alaska. And on the right, that beautiful picture by artist Gail Nieberge was actually on two different journals. One in winter of '94, before we had black and white, and then again in winter 2012 in color. And these icy blue snow wintry pictures remind me of what I had done in 1992 was to do the Chilkoot Pass. And one of my stories in the book is following the path of a piano. There's a little different emphasis, and I'll share with you just a few lines from that article. Yes, I came to see and feel the magic of the Chilkoot, named the Klondike Gold Rush National Historical Park. But what intrigued me most, what gave me an incessant need to experience this area firsthand, was the story of a woman from that 1898 frenzy who insisted that her piano be hauled over the pass. What kind of pioneering woman was this? Not only must she have been brave and spunky to take on the hardship and dangers of this trip herself, but she must have possessed some kind of incredible determination in order to persuade other weary, worn gold seekers to assist in hoisting a piano up and over that long trail and steep incline. I've speculated about her strength of character, for regardless of every mile that her piano was hauled over rocks and rivers, never was there a guarantee that it would make it all the way to the Klondike. She would have to realize every step of the way that at any turn, the piano carriers could give up this load and leaving it at the wayside as so much other equipment was left. But Sally girl and I spent the night in a ranger's cabin at the top of the pass, listening to the wild winds howl. As snow beat against the little window panes, I felt sure that I could hear and feel the spirits of so many who had lost their lives in this very area. For myself, I felt a sense of spooky wonderment as I snuggled on the floor in my sleeping bag with Sally dog beside me. I believe I also heard that piano playing. A note, the original Chilkoot Pass piano of this story is on display at Alaska Land Park, Fairbanks, Alaska. So we know that it did make it. We have really enjoyed sharing our book with you. There are ways that you can buy the book, and every dollar goes into what it costs to produce such a beautiful book that we're very, very proud of. You can buy your copy by emailing me, mlhayes333 at AOL.com. And as was mentioned earlier, emberpressbooks.com. And you can also find it at local Alaska bookstores. And to let you know, Alaska Women Speak, the journal, has changed its format, but it does continue to publish women's stories and art. Do check it out at alaskawomenspeak.org.
And don't forget, a book like this would make a wonderful Christmas gift. It's a great coffee table book, as well as a good journey through history and memories. Thank you for watching.